Jesuits had with the press. Father Arturo Sosa demonstrated patience and a sense of humor, even when asked if he likes to be called the Black Pope.
I think Mulemi is better suited for it. Regarding being called the Black Pope, I don't like it.
The idea is to be an organization, the Society of Jesus, that can help the church where and doing what the church needs. And who is going to determine what are the needing of the church? The Pope. The Pope, because his function in the church is that.
The new general, a 68-year-old Venezuelan, says that the Society of Jesus wants to serve the church within their own vocation, which is to serve the church and to support what the bishops and Pope ask them to do.
What do I like the most about the Society of Jesus? I can give a very simple answer: everything. What attracted me from an early age was the Jesuits are an apostolic force in many areas.
The new superior of the Society of Jesus was a university president for 10 years and a director of a social studies center for 20. He, as a governmental man, served as provincial superior in Venezuela and is responsible for the international institutions that the Jesuits have in Rome. In addition, he is also a deeply devout Jesuit priest.
The Jesuits have this great wealth, a spirituality that puts you in contact with Jesus incarnated in concrete situations throughout the world.
Nella Chiesa non esiste il fai da te, non esistono battitori liberi. Quante volte Papa Benedetto ha descritto la Chiesa come un noi ecclesiale. Talvolta capita di sentire qualcuno dire: io credo in Dio, credo in Gesù, ma la Chiesa non mi interessa. Quante volte abbiamo sentito questo? Questo non va. C'è chi ritiene di poter avere un rapporto personale, diretto, immediato con Gesù Cristo, al di fuori della comunione e della meditazione della Chiesa. Sono tentazioni pericolose, sono tentazioni dannose, sono, come diceva il grande Paolo VI, dicotomie assurde.
During the meeting, he said he is fine and feels calm about his new role. He thanked his predecessor, Spanish Adolfo Nicolas, who will now return to the Philippines to work where his superior has allocated him as spiritual director of a pastoral center.
A series of recently opened Vatican archives are shedding new light on the relationship between Pope Pius XII and Adolf Hitler as he led Nazi Germany during World War II. Amna Nawaz looks at what we are learning and how it changes our thinking about the Vatican during that time.
Judy, in 2020, the Vatican released millions of documents on Pope Pius XII that were previously hidden from public view. These include transcripts of negotiations between the Pope and Nazis. A new book published today takes a deeper look at these revelations. Historian David Kurtzer is the author of that book. It's called The Pope at War: The Secret History of Pius XII, Mussolini, and Hitler. And he joins me now. David Kurtzer, welcome to the NewsHour. Thank you for being here. So a lot of folks know previous versions of history around Pius XII went one of two ways, right? He was either called Hitler's Pope and an anti-Semite, or the story was that he did everything in his power to save as many Jewish people as he could during the war. After reviewing the documents, what's your understanding?
Well, probably the most shocking finding from these newly opened Vatican archives that just opened 2 years ago after 50 years of pressure and interest in being able to see what they contain is that within weeks of Pius XII being elected Pope, he's elected in early 1939, Hitler saw an opportunity and decided to send a personal envoy, who himself is a rather colorful character, the great-grandson of Queen Victoria of England, a Nazi prince who is married to the daughter of the King of Italy. And he would begin to shuttle back and forth between Hitler and the Pope over the next 2 years, engaged in secret negotiations. We didn't know about these until just now.
David, when it comes down to what Pope Pius XII did or didn't do in terms of saving Jewish lives, you tell the story about one October night in 1943 in Rome. What happened then?
Well, October 16th, 1943, the SS had lists of all the Jews in Rome and went door to door and tried to arrest all of Rome's Jews, thousands of them. They found about 1,260, arrested them, brought them to a military college just outside the walls of the Vatican, and held them there for 2 days. What we now learn from these recently opened archives is that the Vatican worked very hard to show that some of them had been baptized and therefore shouldn't be considered Jews from the point of view of the church, and therefore should not be shipped off to Auschwitz with the rest of them. And in fact, about 250 of those who were originally rounded up were freed before 2 days later they were put on a train, 1,007 of them, of whom I think about 16 would survive, and most, in fact, a week later on arrival at Auschwitz were immediately put to death. The Pope did send his Cardinal Secretary of State to meet with the German ambassador to the Holy See to say, do you really need to go through with this? Can you do something about this? But the ambassador told the Cardinal Secretary of State, this has been ordered by the highest level, namely Hitler, and you really don't want me to protest on your behalf, do you? And the Cardinal Secretary of State basically said, no, I'm not insisting on any protest.
David, I'm curious. I know previously the Vatican has come forward when previous allegations were made similar to this about Pope Pius XII. Have they responded in any way to your book or to the reporting that's in this book?
Well, unfortunately, I mean, other national Roman Catholic churches, for example, in France and in Germany, have come to terms with this history. And part of the history is how it was that in the middle of the 20th century, the millions of Jews could be massacred, little children, old people, by people who thought of themselves as Christian, more or less half of them Roman Catholics, but also Protestants, of course. And in other countries, in Germany, in France, the clergy has come to terms or begun to come to terms with it, but the Vatican has not. The Vatican released a statement in, I think, 1998, we remember, in which they said their own demonization of the Jews had absolutely nothing to do with the Holocaust. So this is, I think my book is probably not entirely appreciated by many in the Vatican, although there are those in the Vatican when I work in the archives who kind of whispered to me they're happy that this is finally coming out.
What about how we view, all these years later, the role of Pope Pius XII as his leadership of the church? I mean, especially with there's being a push for his sainthood, right? How should we look at that when you step back?
Yes, well, the popes have tried to beatify and canonize, make Pius XII a saint. He's a hero of the right wing or the conservatives in the church, who see the church as having gone wrong after his death with the Second Vatican Council under his successor, John the 23rd. I wish that, first of all, I wish they'd read this book, but I'd also wish they'd be willing to consider this history anew. But I'm afraid for those really don't have an open mind, and it's unlikely that it will change their mind. So I think the drive to make a saint of Pius XII will continue.
That is historian David Kurtzer, author of the new book, The Pope at War, The Secret History of Pius XII, Mussolini, and Hitler. David Kurtzer, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hitler's plan was designed and devised in London, at Buckingham Palace. This evil plan can be summarized easily. Hitler and the British, Dutch and German royals wanted to amalgamate all the ancient European nations into a single undemocratic superstate. The key to an evil conspiracy is the intent of the secrecy. While some secrets may be benign, why spoil the surprise birthday party by telling? Other secrets, such as suppressing cures for cancer or AIDS or fomenting war, would be considered despicable by people with conscience. Those secrets that cost or ruin lives, that prevent people from living together in harmony and are used for undue control or profit are unacceptable to most people. Therefore, whoever conspires to keep such secrets must be carefully scrutinized by everyone concerned with individual freedom. This evil plan of Hitler and the royals to combine all the ancient European nations into a single undemocratic superstate was a military plan, but also a financial plan as well. The royals wanted to create an economic empire of Europe. Many aristocrats, barons, princes and dukes from Britain and Germany supported Hitler and even became SS Nazi officers themselves. After the Second World War, many of them put on business suits and became the creators of the European Union. The EU is exactly what Hitler and the traitor royals wanted all along. An undemocratic super government which imposes taxes, and which the people have no control over. Senior royals at Buckingham Palace planned, financed and managed the First and Second World Wars. But it goes deeper than that. The British King Edward, British Prince George and the sisters of the Duke of Edinburgh all financed and promoted Nazism. One of the most senior British royals was Prince Karl Eduard Coburg, who was a prince and member of the British Order of the Garter, a royal multi-millionaire and favourite grandson of Queen Victoria. He led many British royals and members of the Irish Guinness family to support and even campaign on behalf of Hitler. Indeed, it was the support of these British royals which legitimised Nazism. Royal evil. Karl Eduard, Duke of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha headed Buckingham Palace's pro-German and pro-Nazi clique. He was a member of the Order of the Garter, friends with senior Conservative Party politicians and attended Eton. All paid for by the British taxpayer. He has been whitewashed and written out of British history books because it is this man, a British-born duke, who designed and funded the Third Reich. He was in charge of vast royal estates in Germany and was the most experienced royal, secretly leading the British royal family's campaign to create a European Reich dominated by Germany, but with a British king to appease the British people. He campaigned for a united Europe all his life, right up until his death in 1954. British royals and aristocrats, such as Sir Oswald Mosley, tried to convince the British people that Nazism would be good for Britain. But the British people were not stupid. The working class rejected Hitler and rejected the idea of a European Union dominated by Germany. In part 2 of this series we discussed the royal strategy of vengeance against the Commonwealth of Britain, as well as European and American people, for rejecting the royal plan of world dominance, to cull us all into submission with the crown or coronavirus, and the medical cartel which they control. Primarily with the use of German Big Pharma, working in concert with the Rockefeller-owned American Medical Association, and the United Nations World Health Organization. They have been surprisingly open about their plans to cull 90% of us through what they call depopulation. This is their politically correct term for genocide.
The July 17, 1917 proclamation proves that House of Windsor name was fabricated and assumed by the UK and Canadian monarchy to conceal their German lineage. Name and titles. The Windsor name never existed before. World War I abolished German Saxe-Coburg and Gotha dynasty, and created a new and fake false identity to defraud the UK and Canadian people. Canada and the UK's monarchy forever forfeited by law. Queen Elizabeth II's monarchy is forever forfeited. It can be argued that Canada and the UK has no queen. Elizabeth II was, and I quote, made forever incapable to inherit, possess, or enjoy the crown and government of this realm, and Ireland, and the dominions thereunto belonging, or any part of the same, or to have use or exercise any regal power, authority, or jurisdiction within the same, and in all and every such case and cases the people of these realms shall be and are thereby absolved of their allegiance. End quote. And arguably, when Elizabeth II reconciled to the See and the Church of Rome, and professed the Catholic faith at her own coronation, arguably, on June 2, 1953, in violation of Act of Settlement law. Minutes after swearing to uphold the laws of the UK and Canada, and defend the Church of England faith, she broke her oath, and the law by publicly professing, and I believe one Catholic and Apostolic Church, then accepted the ring of kingly dignity, and the seal of Catholic faith. Evidence of this forfeiture due to Elizabeth's gross violation of law is provided in the transcript of Elizabeth II coronation, pictured and linked below.
In the dark halls of the Vatican, there is a man who wields more power than any other man on earth. He is known as the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, better known as the Jesuits. but he simply goes by the ominous name, the Black Pope. This shadowy figure controls an army of priests and nuns sworn to secrecy and has been behind some of the most controversial moments in history. From orchestrating wars to controlling world leaders, the Black Pope always seems to be one step ahead. But who is this mysterious man? And what does he want? The Society of Jesus was founded in 1540 by Ignatius of Loyola, a Spanish Basque nobleman. The Jesuits were initially created to be an order of missionaries, but they quickly gained a reputation for being fierce defenders of the Catholic faith. They were also known for their education and intellect, and they soon became one of the most powerful orders in the Church. The Jesuits answered directly to the Pope, but were also answerable to their superior general, the so-called Black Pope. Saint Ignatius of Loyola first used the title, with black referring to the Society's dark and secretive yet powerful nature. The Black Pope is a shadowy figure believed to wield incredible power behind the scenes of the Catholic Church. However, he is shrouded in mystery, with many theories about his true identity and purpose. Some believe he's the true power behind the Catholic Church, while others claim that he is just another figurehead with little absolute authority. The Black Pope is the head of the Jesuits, acting as the superior general, Praepositus Generalis in Latin, of the Order of the Jesuits. He is referred to as the Black Pope not because of his race or skin color, but because of his position in the church hierarchy. It is said that he is second in command after the Pope, making him one of the most influential people in the Catholic Church. The name comes from the black cassock, or long-sleeve clothing that Jesuits wear, often seen as secretive, powerful, and omniscient. Although the superior general has authority over all society members, he typically leads through provincial superiors who report to him. Similar to other religious organizations, its power derives from the sacred vows that link members to communal life. After one of the superior generals retires or passes away, another will be elected by a body, known as the General Congregation of Society. If a person is elected a superior general, they have that title for the rest of their life until they pass. However, the 35th General Congregation was called after the previous superior general decided to resign because of health issues. The current Black Pope, known by the name Arturo Sosa, ascended to the throne following the retirement of the 35th Superior General. He is a Venezuelan Catholic priest, elected to the position on October 14, 2016, replacing Adolfo Nicolas and becoming the Society's 36th Superior General. He holds the title for the first Jesuit leader to be born in Latin America. The Black Pope rules over Jesuits, and he has complete control over the order's finances, strategy, and diplomacy. In addition, the Black Pope oversees all Jesuit activities worldwide and reports directly to the Pope. The Jesuits are a controversial religious order, and the Black Pope is their most powerful and influential leader, automatically making him a highly controversial figure. He's believed to be the mastermind behind many of the Church's political machinations. As a result, various governments have banned the Jesuits throughout history, and their activities are often shrouded in secrecy. Despite his power and influence, the Black Pope is not well known to the general public. This is due to the Jesuits' emphasis on discretion and reluctance to attract public attention. Nevertheless, the Black Pope is a powerful and influential figure within the Catholic Church, and his actions can significantly impact the world. How much power does the Black Pope have? That isn't easy to say. Some believe he has great power and influence, while others believe his power is greatly exaggerated. While the truth may remain unknown to many, the Black Pope remains as a mysterious but respected figurehead in the Catholic Church. Because of the Black Pope's mystery and secrecy, many people have started rumors, myths, and even theories about the full identity of the Black Pope. Some are a bit more grounded, like the Pope being involved with the Illuminati, while some are more outlandish and fantastical, like the Black Pope being able to resurrect the dead. The following are the most famous rumors circulating about the Black Pope. 1. The Black Pope is a vampire. This rumor was started by people who feared the power of the Black Pope. Obviously, the Black Pope is not a vampire, although there are rumors floating around that the Black Pope is immortal. 2. The Black Pope is the Antichrist. This rumor is spread by those who believe that the Catholic Church is evil. The Black Pope is not the Antichrist, although he is a controversial figure. 3. The Black Pope controls the Illuminati. This rumor is spread by those who believe that the Illuminati is a real organization. The Black Pope does not control the Illuminati, although he is rumored to be involved with them. 4. The Black Pope can control the minds of others. The Black Pope is said to be able to control the minds of others, and this is one of the most feared aspects of his power. If he can control your mind, then he can control your actions, which is very dangerous. There are so many stories of people that have done things against their will because the Black Pope controlled their minds. This is not as far-fetched, as the other rumors about the Black Pope being influential as they are can even seem like they have the ability to persuade or brainwash others to do their bidding. 5. The Black Pope can raise the dead. Lastly, the Black Pope is also said to be able to raise the dead, another one of his feared powers. If he can raise the dead, he can create an army of the undead to do his bidding. While more outlandish, there are still several people who believe he has the power to do so, and thus fear him greatly. While these rumors may be far-fetched, they show the level of mistrust and fear many people have towards the Black Pope and the Catholic Church. It's easy to think that the title of Black Pope is all glory and power, but as the popular saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility. And not everyone with power is responsible. For instance, the Black Pope has been accused of promoting liberation theology, a Marxist interpretation of Christianity that calls for overthrowing capitalist societies. He has also been accused of being involved in various political conspiracies, including the assassination of John F. Kennedy and the 9/11 attacks. The Black Pope is also blamed for the Vatican's involvement in the Crusades and the Inquisition. Critics say that the Black Pope is a dangerous man bent on world domination and is using the Catholic Church to further his own agenda. These claims have never been proven, but they continue to circulate. Whether or not the Black Pope is truly as powerful and influential as some believe him to be is up for debate, but there is no denying that he is a controversial figure within the Catholic Church, and his beliefs and actions continue to cause division among believers. The Jesuits are a Catholic religious order known for being very conservative and opulent. However, they have a long history of working behind the scenes to influence world events. The Black Pope is the head of this order and wields a great deal of power within the Church. Some people believe the Black Pope is a force for good. They point to his work with the poor and oppressed as proof of this. They also say he's a brilliant and cunning man who knows how to get things done. Others believe that the Black Pope is up to no good and think he's behind some of the Church's more controversial policies, such as its stance on birth control and abortion. Is the Black Pope a force for good or evil in the world? Only time will tell. In the meantime, we need to learn as much as possible about him and his motivations. Only then will we be able to ensure that he is on the side of righteousness. But one thing is certain, he remains one of the most intriguing and mysterious figures in the history of the Catholic Church. The Black Pope is a figure who continues to fascinate and mystify historians and observers of the Vatican. His story is one of power, corruption, and mystery, and deserves to be better known.
This man controls the entire world. Many people know about the Pope, but what if he's not the only Pope? Rumor has it that there are 3 popes in existence. The White Pope, which everyone knows, the Black Pope, and the Gray Pope, each trumping each other in terms of power. The White Pope is the leader of the Vatican Church, and the Black Pope is the leader of the Society of Jesuits. However, when it comes to the Gray Pope, it is a whole different story. Well, you'll see. The Gray Pope, or more commonly known as Pepe Orsini, is the latest heir from a long bloodline of black nobility that are the movers and shakers behind world control. with their dynasty going way back to even Babylonian times. Today, they are the world's most powerful family, heading the Illuminati, with even the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers reporting to them. But not many people know controls the entire world.
Hi there, my name is Alan Lamont. I'm going to bring a message about the Knights Templars. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this is because I'm going to explain that the Knights Templars are at the heart of this conspiracy to rule the world, otherwise known today as the New World Order. Now, the Temple Church in London was consecrated on the 10th of February 1185 by Heraclius, who was the Patriarch of Jerusalem. And the church was actually the heart of the Templar site in London, but also for the entire Templar activity in the whole of Britain. And the Knights Templars really received great support and royal patronage from Henry II, who was present at the consecration of the Templar Church. Obviously King Henry III favoured them so much that he wanted to be buried there, even though there was a consecration on Ascension Day 1240. The king, however, was buried in Westminster Abbey. The actual Templar Church had what's known as the Master of the Temple in England. This was a real forerunner for the Grand Master of Masonry. For if you look at the structure of Freemasonry, even today, you will see that the highest Masonic degree, the very highest Masonic degree, is the Knights Templar. Now, this is for a reason, because the Templars were not destroyed. They were not destroyed, and they actually became the Jesuit order. They became the Jesuit order, and I'll explain this. I mean, if you go to in the middle or in a temple, you will see the sign of the Jesuit seal sunburst around the Pegasus. The Pegasus is a symbol for the Jesuits. That's one of their symbols, secret symbols. And the Templars had power over the whole banking system in Europe. They were the first actual international bankers, and obviously that was the reason why there was persecution against the Templars, and they eventually defied royal orders, and they were persecuted. But they controlled the money, and they controlled the kings of Europe. And this system, as in the Templar system, is really the forerunner for the Jesuit order, for the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus. The London Temple was taken over by the monarchies of Britain and placed in the hands of the Knights Hospitaller, otherwise known as the Knights of Malta. The Knights of Malta really just kept it for the Templars, and a lot of the funding they actually received, in secret of course, to hold for the Templars. It is said that they were never restored. They were never abolished. They were never actually destroyed. The Jesuits today are the Knights Templars, and they run the city of London through what's known as the Inner and Middle Temple. Really, these are two colleges close to the chapel, and they continue to control the city of London today. It's in fact the Templars that rule over the monarchy of Britain. They use the crown as a cover. They always do that. They always use the crown. Obviously working through the Vatican Knighthood, the Order of the Garter, and high-level Freemasonry. That's how they control that. But really, what are the Templars today? Okay, well, they, as I've said, they are the masters of the temple of the two inns of court. And obviously on the 13th of August 1608, King James I granted a royal charter giving them the use of the temple in perpetuity. Obviously that is the two court of inns. They could continue to maintain their power, and this is the inns of court, obviously connected to the Temple Church, and they're still governed by that charter. I want to just talk right now about what's called the Honourable Society of the Inner Temple. You can go on Google and find this, the Honourable Society of the Inner Temple, and you will see immediately come up the white horse, okay, and you will see the Jesuit sunburst And you will also see it is exactly the same because it is the Jesuit seal. If you look at the Jesuit seal, you see the spikes and the sunburst there. This is the Jesuit seal, indicating that the Jesuits really are the revived Knights Templars in the sense that they are still Templars. I really believe that that's the true conspiracy, that the Templars were not destroyed, they infiltrated Masonry, okay? They were there at the very foundation of the Jesuit order and created the Illuminati, and that's why they always connect the Illuminati to Masonry. And these honourable societies of the Inner Temple, Middle Temple, Linden's Inn and Gray's Inn, this is the real covert control over London. This is actually in control of the Crown. Now, the Crown is not the Templar structure here. That's the monarchy, that's the Crown corporation in a sense, as in the government of Britain, okay? Two different things, but it's a Jesuit Templar Crown. This message is for people that are digging into this conspiracy and researching it. So that's what must be exposed. And if you actually look even at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, I brought a video out just recently about that, and how you see in front of Jesus Christ and you see above him the sunburst. Whenever you see the sunburst, that's the Templar sign. Also the Templar cross, the red cross of the Templars. You will see that on the Corporation City of London symbol and logo for the City of London, indicating the Temple Church is in direct control of the City of London. You also see it on the symbol of the Order of the Garter. You see the Templar cross once again, but the real power here is the Jesuit sunburst. That's the seal for the Jesuit order. The Society of Jesus is actually the Honourable Society of the Templar in a temple. This is the true conspiracy. This is the conspiracy. This is it. And I'll just talk a little bit about the Templars again. I mean, obviously, their area across the earth is obviously, you know, as in their foundation was Palestine, Jerusalem, you know, otherwise known today as the Pope's Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem. This is why you see the Jesuit sunburst right in front of Christ crucified at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, because they are Knights of the Virgin Mary, but they're also Knights of the Sun. Let me explain that. The Knights of Babylon. They're Babylonian. This is why Freemasonry is Babylonian and Egyptian and Roman, okay? So this is the conspiracy. The Templars really created the Jesuit order. They are Templars. This is really what happens when you get to the real heart of this conspiracy here. And that's why there's so much real disinformation on the Templars. People talking about the Holy Grail, and you had a lot of Dan Brown's, you know, diversion. Why is this? It's because the Master of the Temple is actually the Jesuit Superior General. Okay? That's right, the Grand Master is actually one and the same, the Black Pope. You know, Hans Kolbenbach and Adolfo Nicholas, they are the two superior Jesuit generals. This is what happened. In order to, you know, protect themselves, in order to protect themselves from their annihilation, they obviously work with the papal bloodlines of Italy, and they work with the royal households in the Holy Roman Empire. They went underground, and they just merely created the Society of Jesus, otherwise known as the Jesuits today, and they also began to control the papacy, and they created the Illuminati as another Templar Jesuit organization whereby they can infiltrate governments and overthrow monarchies and royal houses that try to suppress the Templars, that try to destroy the Templars. This is what this is really all about. It's, you know, the Templars overthrowing monarchies that tried to destroy and oppress them. This is why the Jesuits were created. Ultimately, the purpose of the Jesuits was to create the Illuminati, and now you see the whole picture. Now you see it. Now you see it. And, you know, people don't really bring this conspiracy. They don't really reveal it in its fullness. They'll explain a part of it and they'll lead off into different diversions here and diversion there, and people are just getting diverted everywhere when it comes to this. So, you know, the Templars were not abolished and they're not to be restored. They actually are, you know, ruling over all the royal bloodlines. They're ruling over world Freemasonry. And as I've said, it's obvious. It's obvious. Just look at the signs and symbols. Just look at them. Look at the symbol for the Crown Corporation of London. You'll see the Templar Red Cross. Look at the Order of the Garter, the Vatican knighthood presided over by the Queen, and you will see once again the Templar Cross. Look at the Knights of Malta, Templar Cross. Look at the Pope of Rome. What does he wear? Templar Cross. This is it. It's the Templars who infiltrated the Vatican through creating the Jesuit order. And once again, just look at the sunburst right there at the Court of Inns. Right? You see the Jesuit sunburst, you know, ruling over their, you know, honourable society of the inner and middle temples. And it's this Pegasus trust, you know, that rules over this whole legal system across the earth. And America is still ruled over by, you know, this military order, because the Templars are a military order. They were never actually a Catholic organization. If you look deep into the Templars, they were Babylonian. They were a Babylonian knighthood, committed to the Babylonian mystery schools. This is why the Jesuits, is, you know, as soon as they were created their logo for what's called the, you know, the Jesuit order, and you see the IHS standing for Isis and Horus and Seb in Egypt, otherwise going back to Nimrod and Semiramis. But that's a lot to cover and for another time. But if you actually look, they're identical. The Templars and the Jesuits are identical. The Jesuits were never Catholics. They were never Christian in any shape or form. They've always been committed to the Babylonian mysteries, always. That's why they made the Vatican what it is today. The Vatican was always Babylon the Great, but what they'd done was they, you know, worked through the Vatican to bring their crusades. Obviously, you know, when the popes of Rome tried to suppress the Templars would poison the popes of Rome. And when the monarchies tried to overthrow the Jesuits, the Jesuit Templars would just overthrow that monarchies through the front organization of the Illuminati, which is another Templar organization. I know it's a lot to take in, but after the last few years of research, I've found the truth. I've found it. That's it. That's the truth. You know? And so this is what's happening all across the earth. All of the wars are papal crusades waged by the Templars, you know? And their ultimate purpose by creating the Jesuit order is ultimately to have, you know, Jerusalem, you know? And for the Black Pope to be the master of the third rebuilt Jewish temple, Solomon's rebuilt temple. And obviously this has been created today through the cover of Freemasonry. All along people are looking at the Jesuits as being in control, and they are, but they are the Knights Templars, you know? And even the Knights Templar Jesuits rule over the Knights Hospitaller, or otherwise known as the Knights of Malta. So it's this Vatican knighthood that rules the earth and the monarchies today, and obviously govern in London through their temple of the inner courts, the Inns of Court, you know. And okay, I think that's a good place to stop now. My name's Alan Lamont. Thanks for listening, and this is the true conspiracy. The Knights Templars became the Jesuits, and the Jesuits infiltrated and took over the Vatican, and from there they had complete power over the monarchies, and ultimately they used the Illuminati to bring the Napoleonic Revolution and the Russian Revolution, and obviously the Third Reich, and all of these wars even today are nothing but crusades of the Knights Templars who became the Jesuits. Okay, the Black Pope today, Adolfo Nicholas, is in fact master of the temple of the Knights Templar. Okay, thanks for listening. As always, all roads lead to Rome.
Key to Ignatius Loyola's order were something called the spiritual exercises. These were based on the experiences and secret teachings he had received whilst in the cave at Manresa. He basically made a template of what he had done in the cave to summon the serpent with the secret knowledge, and then passed it on to his followers. These spiritual exercises formed the foundation of his entire movement. All Jesuits would have to go through them in order to bring themselves to the same kind of mind as Loyola had himself after 10 months in the cave. They involve systematic meditation, prayer, contemplation, visualization and illumination, and would lead to a trance-like state of ecstasy. By following these rituals, he and his followers were even seen to levitate off the floor. The spiritual exercises initiation would take 30 days, and initiates were brought through them by a supervisor or director. For the entirety of that period they were told what to think, how to feel, when to groan, what to sigh, what to imagine, and they were to cut off all normal human emotion throughout those experiences. By the end of the 30 days the initiate was to have his mind broken like that of a horse, so that he was now ready to be utterly obedient in all things. An observer of the Jesuits wrote, "Not only visions were prearranged, but also sights, inhalings. Breathing was noted down, the pauses and intervals of silence were written down like a music sheet, which meant that the man, being inspired or not, became a machine who had to sigh, sob, groan, cry, shout, or catch his breath at the exact moment and in the order which experience showed to be the most profitable." Using this method, Loyola needed only 30 days to break someone's will and reasoning. The Jesuit initiates, once brainwashed or programmed by the spiritual exercises and further training, were to become as puppets to their superiors. Their constitution states that the Jesuit must give instant compliance to those above them in the hierarchy, completely sacrificing their own will in the process. They were to be directed under divine providence by their superiors, just as if they were a corpse, which allows itself to be moved and handled in any way. Their constitution justifies this absolute and unquestioning obedience by claiming the general of the Jesuits is in the place of Jesus Christ. Like the Pope, the general has invested in himself spiritual authority for worldly power and control. In more than 500 places in the Jesuit constitution, it is taught that the Jesuits should see Jesus in their general. The blasphemy continues in the constitution saying, "No constitution, declaration, or any order of living can involve an obligation to commit sin, mortal or venial, unless the superior command it in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, or by virtue of holy obedience, which shall be done in those cases or persons wherein it shall be judged to conduce to the particular good of each, or to the general advantage, and instead of the fear of offence, let the love and desire of all perfection succeed, that greater glory of Christ, our Creator and Lord, may follow." That nonsense just means that the Jesuit superiors can command an inferior to commit a sin in the name of Jesus Christ, if they feel the end justifies the means, or if it leads to the greater glory of God in their eyes. Loyola even said, "I will believe that the white that I see is black if the hierarchical church so defines it." The order operated on the basis of complete, blind, mechanical obedience to those who are higher up in the hierarchical structure. The entire organization in turn would be at the disposal of the Pope as an army of the most zealous and dedicated spiritual warriors for the Vatican. They specialized in warfare by stealth and deception to undermine the enemy being true Christians of the Reformation. We gain the fullest understanding of their deceitfully wicked intentions if we read their oath, and so we'll go through that in the next part. But before we leave the spiritual exercises, another warning against deception. Paul wrote to Timothy that towards the end of time, people would begin to abandon the faith and instead follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. Here are the words of popular American pastor Tony Campolo in his letter called "Becoming Actualized Christians." I learned about this way of having a born-again experience from reading Catholic mystics, especially the spiritual exercises of Ignatius Loyola. Ignatius, a founder of the Jesuit order, was once a soldier, and it was only when he spent a long time in a hospital bed recovering from a battle wound that his heart and mind focused on God. Like most Catholic mystics, he developed an intense desire to experience a oneness with God. Gradually, he came to feel an intense yearning for the kind of spiritual purity that he believed would enable him to experience the fullness of God's presence within. Tony Campolo goes on to say, "After the Reformation, we Protestants left behind much that was troubling about Roman Catholicism of the 15th century. I am convinced we left too much behind. The methods of praying employed by the likes of Ignatius have become precious to me. With the help of some Catholic saints, my prayer life has deepened." We know that behind the Catholic saints are demons, and we know that the spiritual exercises are satanic. Beware the emergent church movement in particular, which we'll look at later in some depth. Satan is trying to sneak his poison into Christianity, and this is why it's so important we study this stuff, so that we're not led astray through lack of knowledge, and so that we learn to recognize deception and evil even when it comes disguised as an angel of light through the lips of people who claim to be on God's side.
Have you ever wondered why there is an overwhelming amount of liberal arts colleges? Have you ever wondered why Greek life exists? Greek fraternities and sororities have been a symbol of college life for centuries. Did you know over 80% of the executives of Fortune 500 companies are fraternity men? More than 3/4 of the United States senators are fraternity men. And 40 out of the 47 United States Supreme Court justices since 1910 are fraternity men. Is this a coincidence? If an employer sees Greek fraternity on your resume, does it give you a hidden advantage? How and why did Greek life become so prominent on college campuses? The answer to these questions directs us straight to the black nobility House of Farnese. The House of Farnese established the Society of Jesus, otherwise known as the Jesuits, as a military order through the papal bull under Pope Paul III, whose name was Alessandro Farnese. The leader of the Jesuits is called the Superior General, or the Black Pope. The first Black Pope was Ignatius of Loyola in 1539. Before Loyola was the Black Pope, he was a member of the Alumbrados, the Spanish Illuminati, the precursor to Adam Weishaupt's Bavarian Illuminati, which was started in 1776. Loyola was obsessed with fame and had a reputation of being a narcissist. Under the House of Farnese, Loyola's mission was to infiltrate and reform the Protestant and Catholic churches. Loyola established the methods of prayer, otherwise known as the spiritual exercises, which are still used today in all Jesuit training. The spiritual exercises stem from mystical and hermetic practices which enable demonic control. Hermetic magic is a type of black magic that originated from ancient Egyptians and was portrayed in the Book of the Dead. René d'Anjou, a descendant of the Merovingian bloodline, persuaded Cosimo Medici of the black nobility House of Medici family to establish a library at San Marco, where Plato, Pythagorean works, and books on Hermetic magic were translated. It was from Cosimo Medici's library that sparked up the Greek and Egyptian teachings by the Jesuits that influenced the Italian Renaissance. The Jesuits have been responsible for major deception and murder throughout history, which is unknown to the public. In the book, The Suppressed Truth About the Assassination of Abraham Lincoln, the author claims that the powerful Giacomo Antonelli, a cardinal and secretary of the Papal States under Pope Pius IX, supervised the plot to kill Abraham Lincoln with the help of the Jesuits. Notice the hidden hand. And we all know about the JFK conspiracy involving the mafia and black nobility connections, but that would be an entire video in itself. Charles Chinnockey, a Catholic priest, wrote in his memoir that the Jesuits killed Lincoln. He believed there was a conspiracy between the Vatican and the Jesuits to take control of the United States by importing certain powerful Catholics from black nobility families. He eventually denounced the Catholic Church and left, saying it was anti-Christian and pagan at its core. In 1599, the Ratio Studiorum was written by academics at the Jesuit Roman College, established by Loyola. This Jesuit plan of education is a document that standardized the Jesuit education and was the precursor to the liberal studies that have been instituted in all colleges and universities. 100 years after the Jesuits were established, they were running almost 700 schools. The Jesuit missionaries traveled all over the world establishing liberal arts education. The Jesuit China missions brought Western science and astronomy, and it was the Jesuits who popularized Confucius and had a huge influence on the Chinese Enlightenment. The Ratio Studiorum was revised in 1832, but still centered around the liberal studies of science, social science, arts, and humanities. In 1820, Luigi Fortis was elected the Black Pope. During his short term in office, he spent it institutionalizing the Jesuit plan of education into colleges in Europe, Canada, and the United States, and this was the birth of Greek life. And since 1825, all but 2 U.S. presidents and U.S. vice presidents have been fraternity men. Union College, a private male-only school in New York, established Kappa Alpha, the first fraternity. Since 1795, 19 U.S. presidents have attended this school, and 2 years after the birth of Kappa Alpha, Sigma Phi, and Delta Phi were established. This triad referred to themselves as fraternities, which derives from the Latin word frater, meaning brother. The Jesuit established fraternities started spreading to other campuses. National chapters were created, and that is how Greek life began in the United States. In 1851, the first 2 official women's secret societies were founded at Wesleyan College in Macon, Georgia. They were called the Adelphian Society and the Philomathian Society. It wasn't until 1900 these secret societies became the sororities, Alpha Delta Pi and Phi Mu. Sorority comes from the Latin word soror, meaning sister. There are many collegiate elite secret societies in the United States, and they make a significant effort to keep the affairs and initiation secret. The first collegiate secret society was the Fat Hat Club, created in 1750 at the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia. President Thomas Jefferson was a member. Thomas Jefferson also wrote favorably about Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati and Jesuit professor. Although Weishaupt was the frontman for the Luciferian organization, he was actually backed and funded by the black nobility Farnese family. It was the House of Farnese who elevated the Rothschilds into power and moved the Farnese family seat of power to Washington, D.C. This family is one of the most powerful families on earth today. The Farnese family built their Pentagon fortress known as Via Caparola in Lazio, Italy. In their map room, which was designed in the 1500s, includes a painting of the world showing the continent Antarctica. Did you know that Antarctica was not officially discovered until the 1770s? This was around the same time the Farnese family recruited Adam Weishaupt to create the Illuminati and move the Farnese seat of power to Washington, D.C., where they built their second Pentagon. How did the Farnese family know about Antarctica? Interesting to note that the Washington capital is placed between Virginia and Maryland. Did you know that Larry Farnese is a state senator for Pennsylvania? In the book Rulers of Evil, Tupper Saucy explains how Washington, D.C. was built on land that was owned by the Jesuit-educated Daniel Carroll of the very rich and powerful Carroll family. Daniel's brother, John Carroll, was a Jesuit priest and the founder of the Jesuit college, Georgetown University. John Carroll was the priest of Pierre Charles L'Enfant, the man who was hired to design Washington, D.C. with occult symbology. Jesuit alumni dominate leadership positions in U.S. military and intelligence, as well as politics and law. The Farnese family ruled Parma and Castro of Italy, and today the princes of Bourbon Parma covertly have authority in the U.S. Pentagon and U.S. military through their Jesuit intelligence. And it is the Italian black nobility families who control Hollywood and the media.
It's a trick. The whole entire world is a business. And the more I learn about this, the more you see how this stuff really works. It's extraordinarily scary stuff. The Vatican's behind all of this stuff, way behind all of this stuff at the Vatican. You better go back and look at the real powers behind the world throne. That's the Vatican. You better go back and check out the Jesuits. Jesuits are really behind a lot of this stuff. I mean, get the movie Godfather 3, the third one in the series. Michael Corleone, everybody knows he's a godfather, he's the head of the mob family. And in the very beginning of Godfather 3, he's being anointed with a sword in New York as a member of the Knights of Malta. Yeah, it's in the movie. He's right in the church, and the cardinal is anointing Michael Corleone into something called the Knights of Malta. The Knights of Malta are a very powerful secret society operating behind and for the Catholic Church. They're connected to something called Opus Dei, the work of God, Opus Dei, and Opus Dei, CIA, NSA, all of these alphabet agencies are connected to the Knights of Malta, which is a Catholic institution. This is why all over the world, all the politicians go and kiss the ring of the Holy Father and bow down and kiss the ring. Why? Because he's the Holy Father. He represents God. He is the Godfather. We're talking Rome. We're talking powerful occult orders of secret societies, Opus Dei. They're the people who Rome gave birth to something called P2, Propaganda Due. P2 Lodge is operating out inside the Vatican, inside the Catholic Church, as a secret society called Propaganda Due, P2. P2 is an extremely powerful occult network of very powerful politicians, military leaders, and they are well known. Even in the movie Godfather 3, P2 is mentioned twice. Go back and watch it. They talk about P2. And there's a time when the young man who's taking over the Godfather position is meeting the Grand Master of P2, Propaganda Due. It's in the movie. And he introduces him as the Master of P2.
Opus Dei is a cesspool of controversies, more so than many other Catholic institutions. The Jesuits are heavily opposed to the Opus Dei's existence, claiming that the Opus Dei is very dangerous, and that there were signs in it of a covert inclination to dominate the world with a form of Christian Masonry. It isn't just the Jesuits that have criticized Opus Dei, though. Many leaders, journalists, other religious figures, and ex-members criticize the organization for its many cult-like practices. For instance, the recruitment process of Opus Dei is highly aggressive, using love bombing or showering potential recruits with admiration to join, despite many psychologists claiming love bombing is a part of a cycle of abuse and is described as psychological manipulation. Another factor why Opus Dei is described as cult-like is because of the immense control Opus Dei directors have over their members. Ex-supporters even mention that leaders would burn books that were part of their forbidden books list. To quote, former numerary Joseph Gonzalez says, "During my stint as a numerary, I witnessed the numeraries, including the directors, intermittently burning books in the garden at the back of the center, usually Protestant Bibles and books on the theory of evolution. As expected, Opus Dei denies repressing their members' freedom and would often do so by quoting Escrivá, who once said, 'Respect for its members' freedom is an essential condition for Opus Dei's very existence.'" The factors contributing to Opus Dei's cult-like status doesn't end yet, as their intense secrecy is a point of contention and has raised more questions than answers. Opus Dei does not publish member lists, and members do not reveal that they are part of the organization to the public. In fact, in its 1950 constitution, members are forbidden to reveal their membership unless granted permission by their leaders. Lastly, another heavily criticized part of the Opus Dei is their influence within the Catholic Church as a whole. Because of its unique status, Opus Dei has both too much independence and influence towards the Church. Critics would say that Opus Dei has become a church in a church, thanks to its independence. The combination of dated beliefs, questionable practices, and very aggressive control over its members all point to Opus Dei being one massive cult disguised as an institution of the Catholic Church.
The Vatican's behind all of this stuff, way behind all of this stuff at the Vatican. You better go back and look at the real powers behind the world throne. That's the Vatican.
We know that the name Vatican has nothing to do with the Bible, Greek language, or Latin. It is derived from the Etruscan god Vatis, who was the god of divine communication and prophecy. The Etruscans believed that Vatis resided in an underground cave, and they built their temples on top of these caves to commune with the god. Today, the Vatican is still built on top of an ancient Etruscan cave, and it's said that the Pope himself communicates with Vatis through a secret tunnel that connects the Vatican to the cave. But it is clear that the name Vatican originates from pagan belief. In October 2019, Pope Francis changed the name from Vatican Secret Archives to the Vatican Apostolic Archives. The Apostolic Archives is the central repository of the Holy See for all of its acts, deeds, and documents, and is one of the oldest institutions in the world. It was founded on the initiative of Paul V in the mid-17th century, and is currently one of the most extensive archives in the world. The archive also contains personal archives of the Pope and are subject to the Pope's authority. The archives are divided into two sections: the Vatican Apostolic Archive and the Vatican Secret Archive. The Apostolic Archive contains documents from the pontificate of Pope Innocent VIII up to the 20th century, while the Secret Archive houses records from more recent years. The Apostolic Archive is open to researchers, while the Secret Archive is not. The Vatican Secret Archives is a vast storehouse of secrets and revelations, containing records of scandals and explosive information. The archives are so enormous and disorganized that no one knows its full extent. One expert claims that there are only 24 miles or so of shelves for the archives. However, the Vatican recently admitted that there are 85 linear kilometers, 52 miles of shelves. Additionally, there are 135 fondi, or individual archives, separate from these shelved entries. These include not only records of papal decrees, chancery business, and the like, but other materials, such as the records of prominent papal families, suppressed religious orders and monasteries, and those of nunciatures, or church embassies. Most of this has never been examined, much less indexed or cataloged. The access is strictly controlled because of sensitive information, such as information regarding the Inquisition, a group of institutions within the Catholic Church whose aim was to combat heresy. In 1891, Pope Leo XIII released an encyclical that would profoundly impact the Catholic Church. The document, titled Rerum Novarum, translated to Of All New Things, was a scathing critique of the Industrial Revolution and its effects on workers. Leo argued that the new economic system was exploitative and unjust, and he called for sweeping reforms to protect workers' rights. The encyclical caused a stir within the Church, and sparked a debate about the papacy's role in social and political affairs. In the years that followed, papal encyclicals became increasingly common as popes used them to speak out on various topics, from poverty and war to contraception and abortion. The Society of Jesus was founded in 1540 by Ignatius of Loyola, a Spanish Basque nobleman. The Jesuits were initially created to be an order of missionaries, but they quickly gained a reputation for being fierce defenders of the Catholic faith. They were also known for their education and intellect, and they soon became one of the most powerful orders in the Church. The Jesuits answered directly to the Pope, but were also answerable to their superior general, the so-called Black Pope. St. Ignatius of Loyola first used the title, with black referring to the society's dark and secretive yet powerful nature. The Black Pope is a shadowy figure believed to wield incredible power behind the scenes of the Catholic Church. However, he is shrouded in mystery. with many theories about his true identity and purpose. Some believe he's the true power behind the Catholic Church, while others claim that he is just another figurehead with little absolute authority. The Black Pope is the head of the Jesuits, acting as the Superior General, Praepositus Generalis in Latin, of the Order of the Jesuits. He is referred to as the Black Pope not because of his race or skin color, but because of his position in the church hierarchy. It is said that he is second in command after the Pope, making him one of the most influential people in the Catholic Church. The name comes from the black cassock, or long-sleeve clothing that Jesuits wear, often seen as secretive, powerful, and omniscient. Although the Superior General has authority over all society members, he typically leads through provincial superiors who report to him. Similar to other religious organizations, its power derives from the sacred vows that link members to communal life. After one of the superior generals retires or passes away, another will be elected by a body known as the General Congregation of Society. If a person is elected a superior general, they have that title for the rest of their life until they pass. However, the 35th General Congregation was called after the previous Superior General decided to resign because of health issues. The current Black Pope, known by the name Arturo Sosa, ascended to the throne following the retirement of the 35th Superior General. He is a Venezuelan Catholic priest, elected to the position on October 14, 2016, replacing Adolfo Nicolas and becoming the Society's 36th Superior General. He holds the title for the first Jesuit leader to be born in Latin America. The Black Pope rules over Jesuits, and he has complete control over the order's finances, strategy, and diplomacy. In addition, the Black Pope oversees all Jesuit activities worldwide and reports directly to the Pope. The Jesuits are a controversial religious order, and the Black Pope is their most powerful and influential leader, automatically making him a highly controversial figure. He's believed to be the mastermind behind many of the Church's political machinations. As a result, various governments have banned the Jesuits throughout history, and their activities are often shrouded in secrecy. Despite his power and influence, the Black Pope is not well known to the general public. This is due to the Jesuits' emphasis on discretion and reluctance to attract public attention. Nevertheless, the Black Pope is a powerful and influential figure within the Catholic Church, and his actions can significantly impact the world. How much power does the Black Pope have? That isn't easy to say. Some believe he has great power and influence, while others believe his power is greatly exaggerated. While the truth may remain unknown to many, the Black Pope remains as a mysterious but respected figurehead in the Catholic Church.